All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Herding Cats. And this time I have, yes, I couldn't resist. Sorry. And this time I have Ed Friedland here. And we're going to talk about the cat base and various different things. But there you have it on the wall. You just told me that you actually hung that hook up just to get it in the picture.
Just to get it in the frame.
I appreciate that.
I think it's growing up watching, The Price is Right and all that.
There you go. Right on. No, so Ed, I usually like to start these out by just asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, most people that are going to watch this are going to know who you are. You've been a pretty big deal in the industry and in the journalism side of things for a long time. So, but just give us a quick overview of your career and why you're here. So,
well, I mean, I started out just playing gigs around Boston, taught at Berkeley for a couple of years. I got into journalism, Bass Player magazine, wrote for a bunch of other magazines over the years, always doing gigs, performing. I started doing bass demo stuff, like videos about maybe 10 years ago. As the bass whisperer, it's sort of stuck. So I'm stuck with it, It's cool. Everybody needs a brand, right? But so I started doing that, and, that people seem to respond real well to that. And then, I've written like 20 books on how to play bass over the years for Hal Leonard, and method books and stylistic type books and whatever. And like the last 5 years, my career took a left turn, and I went into full-time road work with the Mavericks, which has been awesome. I mean, obviously this past year we have not been on the road, but we're still getting together. We're doing things. We've shot a lot of video. There's talk about doing a new record sometime soon. And we've done some pay-per-view things, some streaming gigs, live streams. And we even did a live show a couple of weeks back in Texas, which was kind of a scary thought, but
yeah, it
was distanced, I mean, I felt like, all right, I can do this safely. Most of the audience I thought was behaving safely, and they were distanced, but, I don't know, it was just, we did it. I'm still here. So
yeah, crazy times right now for sure.
It is,
yeah.
But basically that's teacher, educator, writer, journalist, cool. Gear demo or gear reviewer, performer, man about
cool.
town.
Cool. Well, yeah, that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on this interview thing that I'm doing, just because your experience is so deep, and you've looked at a lot of instruments over the years and reviews and things. So that's kind of cool. That depth adds a little bit more legitimacy to I think what you're going to tell us today. So the next thing I have to ask then is what was it like for you when you first received the bass, and then and then if you have any input about watching it, sort of if you saw much of it in the development process as I was sort of putting it together. I know you checked it out at an NAMM show the last year. So just kind of your experience of coming to know the instrument, both when it showed up at your house and just sort of through the computer screen, I guess, these days. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think I remember because you had shared some early sketches, I think, of it online, and I'm always watching, what you're posting, because I'm a big fan of your products and various shapes and forms, But so I remember seeing some of your sketches, and it's intriguing. I have a thing for quirky short scale designs from the 60s, and I saw this thing, and so it was like, And, I played the proto or whatever, one of your hand-built ones at NAMM. And, look, anything you build by hand is like going to elicit like a wow from me, because again, your necks or everything is great stuff,
Yeah,
but so playing that one was like, holy shit, I was really like into this. And everybody was talking about short scales, and it just seemed like a really good like better than average, but and I forgot about it. I mean, look, life goes on, and it came out. And when you sent me this one, I knew this is an import, and so the first thing in my mind was like, well, I mean, it had been a year at least since I played the other one, so I was kind of thinking, the response, like all I can go by is like a subjective, like what it felt like when I picked that one up and this one, separated by a lot of time.
A long time, yeah.
But but I was thinking, like, how would it compare, right? So because hand built by you as opposed to like a production line Indonesian instrument, and I realized I don't have a thing about where it comes from. It's about the people that are involved with the process. The factory is a factory. They'll do great work or they'll do sloppy, crappy work. If you want it cheap, they'll do it cheap. If you're not paying attention, crap goes out. There's a lot of crappy instruments, but I'm happy to say this is not one of them. I mean, the thing for me that always separates like the Asian built, say like with G&L or some of these other lines that have a US and an Asian version of the same instrument, the thing that sticks out for me usually is the neck. Most of these companies are getting the bodies and the pickups. G&L uses the same hardware and everything. It's all fairly close, but the neck, it just doesn't feel as finished. Now this thing, the neck is what I'd zoom in right away. It's like, it feels like a really finished neck to me. The volute up at the top, it's very sleek. It doesn't feel like, unfinished. I mean, that's my thing. I play some of my other Asian counterpart basses, and I want to like take a sander and just kind of like do a little shaping, but I don't know how to do that. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
But this thing really stacked up to my memory in terms of, how it felt and sounded and playing it. Well, it's great. It's just it's fun. It kind of rejuvenated my my interest in just playing bass around the house, because I'm not really I'm not that motivated to. I like to play with people. My time of solo bass artistry was brief and a long time ago. I'm really just like I'm a band guy now. I want to play with people, and tracks, boring. Well, it's all. I'm at that point where it's like I'm not pursuing that stuff. I want to get in there with a drummer and somebody else and make something happen. So seeing as those opportunities are slim, but this is so much fun to play. Like I'm just picking it up and playing it because it's easy to play, the short scale and the notes, so it's fun.
I've heard that a lot from people actually about this bass. It's the one that they tend to grab.
Yeah,
if it's just laying around,
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it is obviously the sound, but the neck, it does not. The neck feels like a much more expensive instrument to me.
Cool.
And the sound. I mean, and when I had the round wounds on it, at first I demoed it with the rounds because, usually, look, I'm gonna change it right away. That's the first thing I do is I put flat wounds on them. But but I knew that people would want to hear rounds, so I left them. And I was really surprised at how much I like it that way. But from a work standpoint, like I wanted to take it out with the band, and I knew, look, I'm just gonna have to. I'm a flat wound guy. That's what I did.
So what did you end up with flats on that bass? Which ones?
Well, actually, you sent me those Dunlops that they provided to you, and I put those on. And at first I was like the overtones on the E are a little wonky, but that's a fairly typical thing, right? 30-inch scale. There are strings that don't have that, but I'd say like most of them, the E gets a little crowded down there, right? But so it has a little bit of that, but I really love the other three. And what I found over time, that's they've broken in, and that has decreased to like where it's barely even noticeable. So
Oh,
I just
cool.
I left the Dunlops on. You know, they're kind of like what I call them maybe a new age flat wound, in that it's supple and
Right.
it's not real stiff, clunky like like a labella, which is ultimately, I mean, I'm going to leave these on for now. I'm lazy. There's no reason to change them really.
Yeah.
But one of these days, I'm going to put some labellas on them because that's
Cool.
kind of my jam. But
A little bit more fight in the
well,
string. Yeah.
I'm an upright player. So playing these like Tomastics, which are a great string. I love them. And the Dunlops are a little bit like that. And the pyramids, all of that kind of classical, almost quality string, to me, I love them. The tone and the response is beautiful, but I just have a thing about playing a little bit, getting a little more bite in the right hand. And
kind of the physicality of it. And yeah.
I mean, I try not to overplay that. I don't have to really anymore, but at the same time, I feel like some of them are a little noodly for me. I get caught in the string and sort of like mumbles,
Yeah, I hear you. Cool. I remember
the Dunlops are cool though.
Right on. Good deal. I mean, and that's one of the strings that we offer from the factory. Yeah. Those and the GHS are the two that we actually managed to get strings in stock. That was the biggest part of this year has been a little crazy that way. But
well, I'm wondering because I haven't really gotten into that, but one of the things I've noticed with the various short scales that I have is the gauge of this. I mean, the length of the string, of course, is significant, but some short scale strings, like I have one that has like a tailpiece thing, and short scale strings actually don't work. They don't make it past the nut because the silk gets stuck because there's so much extra space with the tailpiece. So, like, I don't know, did you have to go any special dimensions, or is this a fairly standard?
No, this bass has been a bit of a challenge that way. Yeah. The measurements are
with the
odd.
tuner layout, you need the silk in a completely different.
Off the shelf, the silks have been a challenge to get right. So, and actually, the first batch of Dunlops we got in, we had to actually shave off some of the silks to
We've
make
all
them
done
work.
that.
But they worked. So, but yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge. So, I think we're gonna compile a list of all the strings, the off-the-shelf strings that work on the bass. In addition to just keep putting the data out there so that people can make sure they get the right length strings. But anyway, it's a thing. So what are your? I know you really like that big dark thing. I think we're
shaking the fist.
Big
dark thing. Yes,
we have a similar vibe that way. I'm really into that right now too. And so, what are your favorite?
I've evolved into that. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you? So, tell me about your favorite settings on the bass. What do you like to do?
Well, for what I'm doing, I'm like series mode with the second roll off, whatever the deeper treble roll off, and that's it. That's game over. That's what I need. It's the loudest setting. It's the punchiest, the darkest. I'm kind of typically, and this has just been my last, few, like 10 years, 15 years, evolved to being more of like a one pickup bass guy. P basses typically, but also my L1000, the, G&Ls, like those, that sort of mid position. So like, I'm not doing a lot, like I don't play jazzes live with the band anyway. I mean, my whole world revolves right now around the needs of my gig, which when it exists, jazz bass, I tried for a while. I started with them. I was using a J bass and mainly using the front pickup. And just found like, hey, I'm a one pickup guy right now. So that, so the two pickup thing, like I love what it is, but I was a little like, well, this may or may not do it for me. But like putting them in a series kind of makes it like one pickup in a way, just
it does, yeah.
Two positions. But it's so that unified thing that just, look, I push all the buttons, and when that one hits, it's like, okay, it's like OMG mode on my GNL. You go there and you go, okay, guys, everyone else just sit down. This is what I need,
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, but this does, and that's the nice thing about this is it has. I mean, if I was doing other gigs, I could see a whole lot of things. I would use like the standard whatever the parallel, both pickups. They're all really good sounds. I actually really like the bridge pickup. It's a nice kind of a distinct soloing voice. But I don't need that. I mean, it's there. It's nice to know it's there. I mean, I've kind of gone more to the one does this, P bass, et cetera. But, I appreciate all the other sounds. I don't have a use for them really. If I do, it's always with the second roll off, because that's where high end is just not a big part of what I do anymore.
It's a bass. It's a bass, not a treble.
Yeah, well,
right?
and I mean, I was fast like everybody. I mean, coming up all through the 80s, I mean, we pursued high end, the SWR and the Eden, the first, the tweeters. It was like getting tweeters was like, it's like I don't use that sound. I do have tweeters in all of my rigs, but I'm not using them to hype to the treble. I'm using them to represent fully like the dark, I'm giving them dark. And I want a full range representation of that darkness.
Gotcha.
I want you to hear the icing on the chocolate cake. It's not about the picky stuff.
Right.
Anymore. Not.
Cool. I hear you. Me too.
Treble.
I'm with you on that. I mean, that honestly, that was a lot of the reason. I mean, I've had people review and play this bass that kind of didn't get the dark sound thing.
Yeah.
But it's almost been a mission of mine to sort of put something that does that super dark dubby sound in the game, and it's really awesome to have it validated in this way, because it's kind of where I'm at personally in terms of what I like for tone right now. So
well, and even with the rounds, I mean, the round wounds on it, like I was slapping the hell out of that thing, and it was right there. All it was like very Stanley-ish in a way to me, like. The short slapping on a short scale is a little weird for me because the whole dimensions, but this thing lays out pretty well. I mean, the pickup is, it gets in the way a little bit, but you adjust. But even though I wouldn't think to do it, I actually really like the slap tone on it. The high ends there, you put some bright, and I don't know what was on there. Were they Diodario's or
those are the factory strings.
So I mean, that's a nice bright string. If you had some stainless, something really bright and stainless on there, and you hyped it up, run it through a star lifter,
exactly,
product if you run it through something with some real like cranked and some high end, you could sculpt this thing into a total alembic kind of vibe. I wouldn't be the guy to do that, but it'll go there though, and actually, I'm not surprised because you build pickups. Your pickups are like kind of what we all first knew you as, really,
right.
And so I'm not surprised that these pickups are killer, but they're it's misleading because these instruments, you see these instruments that look like this,
right? Chrome covers and
and you see this type of thing, and usually the pickups absolutely suck, but they might sound good because in that rusticy sort of crappy way, they sound great. Like my
Tysko
thing. My Tysko is like they're crap. I've got this Dutch Egmond bass. It's crap, but it sounds amazing.
Right.
So this, to me, it's like it captures the spirit of the quirk. But it's like a real thing. It's not like it's not getting lucky if it works right. I mean, I've brought some of those other instruments in the studio, and it's like, and, just, I would never take an instrument like one of those on the road because it would be like a nightmare. But I mean, this is, really like, it's built well, and it's reliable, and so I
Cool.
got to play it on the, because I haven't been doing many shows, but we did a show a couple of weeks ago, and I took it with me. We played in Texas, and I drove there, so I just threw it in the car, and I don't play a lot of electric bass on the gig, and this particular show, I only got it on one song. The last we do, All You Ever Do Is Bring Me Down, and I'd play that on electric just because, damn it, I brought one. I want to freaking play it,
Yeah.
I mean, I used to play the whole show on upright or whatever I had, so anyway, I took it out, just made the switch, and it was fun. It sounded great. Everybody loved it. It was fun to play. It's so light. It's like, it's like not having nothing on,
Right.
Which is unusual because, the other instruments like this, I've been playing the Fallout, and it's heavy. It's actually a really heavy little bass. It's not, I would say it's almost between it's over 9 pounds. It's like, and it's a little thing, but I'm just, so I felt like a stiff wind might just take me off. But it sounded great. I used it, that way, and everybody liked it. Everybody noticed. The guys in the band, they noticed it, and they always. No one has ever said, don't bring that bass ever back. I mean, everyone's always positive, but everybody dug it,
Cool.
And, I mean, I hope to get more opportunities to play it this year.
Yeah, cool. So you, if you do that record, do you think you'll be able to get the chance to use it on that?
Well, actually, I probably will. It depends on, like for me, all my gear that I use is in Nashville for anything involved with them, and we'll probably record in Nashville like usual over at Blackbird. So I'll have to bring it with me, and so that's not a big hardship or anything like that, but I do have to get a case for this thing. Like I've got some. Look, I've got a case. I've got gig bag cases. I've got this weird thing about like with short scales, and this has been I want a short scale gig bag that fits the bass. I figure it's short. Let's take advantage of the fact that it's not as long as a regular bass in case a flight attendant gives me a hard time with it, because I see guys showing up with these like. And I never like to tempt fate, But anyway, yes, I stupid answer, but yeah, I'll bring it with me because
Well, we do have. This is a prototype of a bag that we're actually not doing because it was too much. So there's only one, which is why. We do have these are Gator bags, and so they fit just right. So and it was an off the shelf.
Is that the Jazzmaster case or something? Yes,
exactly.
So yeah. Because I had the problem with my G&L is that they put that the headstock sticks out a little bit longer. I think I don't remember if it's 42 inches. I mean, it's longer than the Mustang. It's longer than some of these other ones too. But this is short. But with the 3-in-1 now, I mean, if it's too.
Well, they do fit perfectly in these, and we have the custom bags arriving, I think mid to late January when the new batch shows up too. So we'll be able to get you one of those as soon as
that'd be great.
As soon as we get them in. So
that's the thing. I love to take advantage of the smaller size when you're traveling, because
totally.
It's a real thing. I mean, I've been lucky, but the last thing you want is to get into a hassle with somebody about, sir, and I'm like,
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
And it's not like you can't, sometimes you say, well, this instrument is worth $7,000 and those things. Really?
Yeah.
No, whatever. But
and they're like, well, we're gonna throw it in the cargo hold and break it for you. So
well, look, I haven't been flying much like this whole past year. I flew once or twice because look, I live in Tucson. I drove to Nashville like twice. Was it 3 times? And drove to Texas a couple of times. Like, man, I like to drive, it's fun. I have company. We make it a road trip. It's fun, but, and I feel safer than planes sometimes, but I flew a couple of times. It wasn't as scary as I thought, but that was a few months ago, and, traveling with a with anything extra, it just feels, well, hey, you know what? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will.
What can I say?
Yeah.
I'm just yammering.
Well,
We'll edit all this. We'll edit all this.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about with the cat base at all? Any other anecdotes or anything? I mean,
Well, no, I mean, it's been fun to play. It makes me want to pick it up and play it, and it's got it's an interesting. It fills a couple of categories. I think of short scales in a couple of ways. You've got like instruments that were originally designed as a short scale, like the Gibsons, and then you have like student models, and instruments for smaller people and that sort of thing, and then you have the occasional high end kind of thing, like at the Olympics and bird songs, and guys like Brady McElroy are building fantastic short scales, and all of these other guys. But and then you got the quirk, like the weird stuff, the stuff that that this came from,
right.
And I'd be really curious to try this next to, because I've never played the Panther bass. I'd be very curious to try. I mean, if you could find one in really good shape, which debatable. I don't know what the market is out there for those, but
they're expensive. That's why that was part of the rationale for making this, was to make something that would be a more affordable alternative and fix the quirks.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Bases, so.
Well, yeah. and that's fixing the quirks is a great thing, and if you can do it and still maintain some of the integrity, because sometimes when you fix things, you fix some of what you like, so I mean, again, I can't compare it to the original, but to me, it kind of fits in a lot of different categories. I don't. Some short scales to me just feel like toys, and or there's a compromise, like I love the Mustangs and I love the Music Masters, but the pickups, I mean, are the shortcoming. Even the Mustang, I mean, it's all right, it's okay. And to me, you put a P-bass pickup on there, it looks dumb, and I know that's like completely superficial, and it's just it's a but you know what I mean. Maybe I'm too rigid, but because I've seen they put out some with the PJ, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah,
come up with something better. But this, to me, I mean, really, I'm just really enjoying the hell out of it, and
cool.
It's a lot of fun. Thanks for getting in my way. I hope the demo, kind of helps spread the word.
For sure. Yeah. So you did a couple of them, and you can go to YouTube and the Bass Whisperer. Find the Bass Whisperer on YouTube, and you can see a couple of reviews and playthroughs and demo stuff, which done in your typical excellent high standards.
Thank you. So, I'm working at home I'm doing it all. I just started doing it again. And it's gotten easier than when I first started, but still I'm working, I'm trying to get the quality back up, audio in particular, working with new gear and stuff like that. But
cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, great. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this with me. I really appreciate it. And stay safe, and maybe we'll see you at a NAMM show sometime in the future. Who knows?
Boy, this year would imagine if they had it this year, that would give NAMthrax a whole new meaning, wouldn't it?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it would. Yikes.
Yeah.
Well,
let's end it on an upbeat. Let's end it on a high note. Sorry.
Right on. Thanks a lot, man. Take care.
Later.
See you.